Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm T, and today we're going to be reviewing the Housemaid series by Frieda McFadden. I've been hearing a lot of mixed reviews about this series, so I wanted to dive into it and collect my own conclusions from the series itself. All right, so let's get started. So, first we have The Housemaid. I rated this overall a 6 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie, it was extremely predictable. First things first, let me go through the book with you, right? So, Millie, she's the one that this series is about, and she's fresh out of a 10-year prison sentence from manslaughtering this guy because he was trying to rape her friend. So this, that, and the third, right? And she's been struggling to get a job. So she applies to be this house cleaner for this rich family, and she doesn't think she's gonna get it initially, and then suddenly, lo and behold, she has it. So while she's going through this, through these days and weeks or whatever, she starts noticing the wife's behavior and how erratic it is, and how it's the stark opposite of how the husband behaves. And Millie kind of starts to hate her, right? So on like a climax or whatever, the wife and the husband get into it after Millie and the husband spend like a night out with each other. And next thing you know, husband is like, "Hey man, I don't want to be with you no more. You got to get up out of here." And wife was like, "Fine, whatever." So yeah, this happens, and then literally the next morning, Millie is like, "Oh, this is our house. This is this, that, and the third." Baby, first of all, why would you want to be with it? Why would you try to sleep with a married man? You know? And even if the relationship was on the fritz for years, he's still married. And for him to just hop from one relationship to the next, it's kind of crazy to me. But yeah, and then she comes to realize maybe the wife wasn't too crazy at all, and it's really the husband, because he locks her upstairs in the attic and he punishes her for leaving the books out. Yeah, basically the husband was weird the whole time. And then we go to the wife's point of view, and whole time she actually hired Millie not only to clean the house but to also get rid of the husband. Not that Millie knows about it, but that was her secret plan anyways. And then here we're introduced to Enzo, which is the gardener. He's an Italian, and I guess he's like the wife's good conscience in the book, because she would rather leave Millie to her devices and her husband's whims. And then Enzo is like, "You can't subject Millie to the torture that you went through all these years." So yeah, Millie does end up killing the husband, and then as a big plot twist in the end, Frieda reveals that the mom had also treated the son like that when he was growing up. So that's why he was treating his wife and Millie like that, because that's how he shows love or whatever. And honestly, it wasn't surprising, because every interaction that he had with his mom, she just seemed so disappointed, like so cold. And it just makes sense that she was that type of person, and that's all he knows. So it makes sense that he would be that way too. But anyways, overall, like I said, it was predictable. So I'm just giving it a 6 out of 10. It was a really good read though, not gonna lie. But there wasn't anything thrilling about it or mysterious about it. So yeah. And then the next book, we have The Housemaid Secret. So this one, I got a 7 out of 10. I was pleasantly surprised with this one, I'm not gonna lie. So the events of this book take place 4 or so years after the first book. Millie is in New York, and side note, in all of these books, Millie is like so broke, right? But through these years, she develops a reputation for helping out rich women who needs to get away from their husbands. And I'm just like, you're doing this for free? Like, I get that you want to do a good deed, but you're putting your life on the line for these women, and for some reason you're still struggling to find a pot to piss in. Like, it don't make no sense to me. You need to be charging a little bit more for your services, especially since these rich men can come at you at any given point in time. Like, anyways, so yeah, in this one, she works for a couple, and the husband seems to like control the wife. When she initially meets them, she doesn't meet the wife, which her name is Wendy. He has this whole story about how she's trapped upstairs because she's sick, but Millie thinks that like it's something more insidious going on, like he's abusing her or something, and she's seeing signs as well that he's abusing her. And then one day she confronts Wendy about it against the husband's um against the husband's wishes, and so they make a plan to escape, right? But yeah, all this stuff happens. Next thing you know, Millie's being framed for murder because she tried to help Wendy, and while everything was like coming to a head, Douglas, which is the husband, he showed up. Millie shot him because he was choking Wendy, and next thing you know, he's dead. So when she sees the news report of the dead husband, she comes to realize this isn't the man that I shot. What is going on here? Fast forward, we get Wendy's point of view, right? Wendy heard from a friend that this housemaid, Millie, was in the business of getting wives away from their rich, dirty down, low down husbands. So she's like, tuck that information away for later. So then she meets Douglas, a rich guy, and she marries him. And whole time she's like, Douglas isn't the one that I want, but he's gonna be the one that I mold. So during her relationship, she tries to mold Douglas into her dream man. And when she realizes that he's not gonna meet her standards, she's like, away with you. I don't even mess with you no more. So she meets a side dude, which is, I'm gonna call him Ricky because I forgot his name. When she meets a side dude, Ricky, which is Douglas's assistant's husband, they have a little affair. And so Wendy concocts this whole plan of how Ricky is gonna act like Douglas and she'll hire Millie. So when Millie comes around, Ricky's gonna pretend to be Douglas and be like abusive and stuff, and that's how they're gonna do that shit. So yeah, like I said, it was a pleasant surprise. I was just mad because Wendy, you're ruining it for everybody in the you're ruining it for all the other wives that could come after you. Like, she could really be saving bitches, and you're sitting here wasting her resources. Get it together. It's crazy. So yeah, Millie ends up being framed for murder, but that doesn't really happen because, yeah, just look at the plot points. If you read it, you read it, you know? So yeah, I just did 7 out of 10. And then the last one of the series is The Housemaid is Watching. This one, it was a really enjoyable book. There was a lot of give and take with it, and that's why I gave it the rating an 8 out of 10. It's not bad at all, but this book has nothing to do with the Housemaid series at all, in my opinion. It's just continuing the story of Millie's life, basically. And so this happens 11 years after the events of the second book, and here we see the aftermath of her and Enzo's life together. They're married and have 2 kids, and they're moving into this new neighborhood, and she's learning about the people around her in the little cul-de-sac. So next door, there's like a rich couple. The woman is, I want to say she's a little older, and she's really bold. You can tell she's like the leader of her household, and her husband's like very much a background character. And also, she's disrespectful as crap because the second she meets Enzo, you can tell that she has an interest in him. And literally, she's hitting on this man while Millie is directly in front of her. And Millie's not saying nothing. Like, the amount of people that you got into sticky situations and you can't stand up for yourself. Not only that, but Enzo, why are you entertaining it? Anyways, and then a neighbor across the street, she's like grandma age, or that's how Millie describes it. And she has like a little kid the same age as her son, which she finds weird, but she doesn't question it. And she's very protective over her son because a few years back the kid went missing, and so she's very protective over her kid, and that makes sense. But it's a bit overbearing. Anyways, yeah, so they move into this new neighborhood, and she finds weird stuff going on with Enzo and the neighbor, and then her kid is going through behavioral changes, this, that, and the third. So to climax the book, right, the husband next door is found dead, and Enzo has been blamed for the murder. And whole time, Millie is like, no, there's no way my husband did that. There's no way my husband did that. But then he's like, yeah, I did it. So then we switch to another POV. We switch to Ada. Yeah, Ada, which is the daughter. And we go through her POV and how she feels about moving schools in the middle of the school year or towards the end of the school year and life in this new neighborhood. And then commenting on her little brother's behavior and how much he's changed or whatever. Come to find out, her brother Nico is in some deep trouble with the next door neighbor because he basically like traps him in a room during the day and makes him play with toys, and he watches him on the camera, and he's like, if you tell your parents or anything, I'm gonna kill them. And so Nico's scared, and so it is like, I have to deal with my brother going through this. And so one day she goes into the neighbor's house and she finds the room, and then he catches her. She ends up stabbing him in the stomach, and then she runs away. So she thinks that she killed him, basically. And Enzo, knowing or somewhat knowing what went down exactly, he ends up taking the blame so Ada isn't punished for it, right? But my thing is, these people are really bad parents, because not only do you not have an eye on your kids, but like, how did you let this happen? Like, Millie was too caught up in what was happening with Enzo and the lady next door, which it wasn't nothing, but Enzo was still being sus, right? And then Enzo was too worried about getting his business up and going in this new neighborhood, which is completely understandable. But babe, your kid is next door being threatened by a background character, and y'all not even doing nothing. Like, y'all 12-year-old daughter, I'm not even sure if she's 12 for real, but y'all daughter had to take matters into her own hands and kill a man. That's crazy. Like, what is that going to do to her 12-year-old mind? They should have been more vigilant with their kids. And not only that, but the second that Nico was exhibiting negative behavior, they really should have sat him down and talked about it instead of just like pushing it off to the side. This book had me lit. But yeah, so that's what happens. Enzo ends up getting whatchamacallit. They end up dropping the charges on Enzo because the wife tells them about how the husband is basically a pedophile and she only stayed with him so it wouldn't happen again, and this and the third. So she knew about it, and so Millie's like, well, you're gonna confess this, that, and the third, and you're gonna get my husband off. And the girl's like, fine, whatever, I'll do it. So that's how they get Enzo off. And then towards the end of the book, it's the very last POV, we find out that the housemaid that was working for the rich lady or whatever, she was actually the one to deal the final blow to the husband, because she let Millie and them believe that it was Ada, which is crazy because Enzo was the one that ended up saving her from her stupid relationship anyways. All these people are fucked up. But yeah, all that went down, so I just gave it an 8 out of 10. I know I was ranting, I'm sorry. And then the last one, we have The Housemaid's Wedding. Honestly, this was a 6 out of 10. It's a short story. In the middle, it could be in the middle of the 3rd and 4th book, or you can read it after the 4th book. But honestly, there's no need in reading it. It gives absolutely nothing to the plot. It's just words on the page. It's just words on the page. Like, I don't know. It was lacking for me in some department. I'm not really sure what it was, but we could have really done without it, honestly. I don't think we needed a little follow-up to the relationship. So that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. So with all that being said, I decided to go with the ranking 8 out of 10. Like I said, with the first book, there was really no surprises at all. I wasn't really thrilled. The second book, I was pleasantly surprised. And then the third book, it wasn't that bad either. And some things I didn't see coming. So I did really appreciate that aspect. And then the last book, or the short story, it was super unnecessary. But yeah, that's why I decided to give the series an 8 out of 10. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. This has been T's book review. Thank you so much for listening. I know I was ranting, but thank you again. And I hope to see you next time. Bye!